Well, alright, hello guys. It's been a very long time since the last video, and it's been a long time since I actually played Trails to Azure. I think it was like 4 months ago that I beat it. Um, so I've had to consult like wikis and stuff like that just to kind of refresh my memory on some of these characters and stuff like that. Like unironically, yesterday when I finally finished the script for this video, I actually forgot who Sigmund was, and I was like looking at like my Google Doc because I wrote down like all my thoughts and stuff like that for all these characters, and I got to Sigmund. I was like, who the hell is Sigmund? And I was like thinking about, and like I remember Shirley, but I was like, who's Sigmund? And I look up Sigmund, I was like, oh, that's Sigmund, and it's like I don't know, maybe that's not like a good omen for his placement in the tier list, but yeah. Basically, this is gonna be me ranking basically every sort of like, I guess, kind of noteworthy character from the Crossbell Duology or the Crossbell Saga, from Trails, Legend of Heroes series and stuff like that. So yeah, but like I said, it's as of this recording, it's been like 4 months since I've played the game. So yeah, I apologize if I missed some things. Or if maybe I'm misremembering some details, but hopefully I give a sort of accurate sort of like, I was about to say testimony, this is not Ace Attorney. Anyways, let's just move on to the rankings. So boss, I have a boss at a B. A boss is pretty cool. I would say I like him being kind of like the straight man to Wazi's just kind of like goofiness. I would say, but considering how many great characters are in these games, I don't think a boss really does enough to warrant being any higher than a B. Like, he kind of has like this cool, like laid back, like demeanor, like, not laid back, but he's like kind of like stoic. But yeah, I would say B is fine for him. Arian Rod. I don't know if that's actually how you pronounce her name, but yeah. For me, she is an A tier. She's just really cool, and she has such an imposing character. She has like this kind of mystique to her, and I think she adds like an interesting sort of like presence to Ouroboros, because her membership in the society adds like a kind of layer of complexity to the impression I get from the society. She thus far has presented herself as like a kind of a noble person, which kind of goes against the grain of expectations set by the other members of the society. But she's definitely one of the most virtuous members of the society and really of the entire game, if I'm being honest. So combining those kind of aspects with like her like just incredible strength, I think it's kind of easy to see why she would be here. And it's kind of crazy because like I'm just noticing now that like A tier is like kind of like in the middle. But the reason why is because Legend of, like, well, obviously I didn't make this tier list layout. I actually had to add some characters. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why I added to bottom, like, characters like Colin. But I added some characters. I was like, I want to give at least like everyone to have like at least a portrait, because like I feel like they had like some kind of bearing on the story at the very least. So I was like, yeah, I'll put them in there. But yeah, that's why I have Arian Rod at A. So wow. Yeah, now we're moving on to one of the biggest heavy hitters, or one of the heavy hitters. Yeah, Aros is a great character. I think he definitely deserves at least an SSS. I have a script for this video, but I'm already kind of going off script anyways. But yeah, I'll kind of go back through and see if I want to change anything after the end of this, because like I said, it's been a while since I actually started the script and beat the game. So maybe some of my thoughts have changed since I originally wrote this. So yeah. Anyways, Aris is a great character. I think he kind of just is really deserving of this tier. He was involved with the SSS since the formation of that group, and he kind of acted as like a stand for the SSS to kind of aspire to. I think what kind of defines him as a person is his commitment to his family, attempting to right the wrongs of the past. Even if it came at the cost of his and everyone else's personal freedom. He allowed himself to become a tool in order to try and grant peace to Crossbell, and kind of grant peace to Shizuku. But despite this, he kind of knew deep down that what he was doing was wrong, and so he kind of gave the SSS chances to try and win out against his method of protecting Crossbell, and I think that was really interesting. So I would say, yeah, overall, he's just a great character. Okay, Campanella, I'll also put him in A. I think he's pretty intriguing. He's kind of has like this air of mystery around him since his first appearance in the game, which I believe was Trails in the Sky SC, if I remember correctly, because that's when like the society is like really truly present. But yeah, it just kind of feels like every time we see him, he kind of like takes a little bit of like the mask off a little bit. For example, in Trails to Azure, actually, he hints that his physical appearance actually isn't super reflective of his actual age, which kind of adds to his mystique, right? He's mischievous, cunning, and gets a kick out of putting people in life-threatening situations like we saw at Michelin Wonderland, and various other occasions. And I really want to see and learn more about him as the series progresses. I'm actually, as of this recording, on Trails Cold Steel 1 still. I actually started that in late February or like early March. I am on a hiatus right now. This is a big tangent, but I am on a hiatus right now. I was thinking of waiting until at least end summer, but after making this video, I'm really thinking I kind of want to go back sooner, just because I feel like I have a bitter. I'm kind of sort of working towards the goals I want to achieve, and I feel like I can maybe bring streaming back into the fold. But anyways, that's a story for another time. But yeah, I would say yeah, A is definitely a good ranking for him. He's a good character. I wouldn't put him in S though. Like when I see like these tiers, I think of S as like truly like the pinnacle, and SSS and SSS like being kind of like beyond that, like if that makes sense. But yeah. So speaking of S, Sao. Yeah, I would say Sao is also an S tier character. He's very calculative. He kind of has like his finger he has a finger in every pie or however that expression goes. Like he has eyes in every shadow of Crossbell, and kind of has like this really potent sort of like aura, without really even like engaging in any fights for the majority of the duology. And when push comes to shove, he shows that he actually does have the fighting prowess to sort of take on like the Red Constellation's Jaegers, which I thought was really cool. But he's also obviously manipulative, constantly trying to get in the heads of the SSS and also Yin. So I think he's a pretty fascinating character, and I do actually really hope to see more of him in future games. So yeah, S tier for him. So next we have Cecile. I like Cecile, but I think the most I can really give her is A. Not that A is a bad placement, but I just think that she's great. She has like this like really comforting presence, both for a player and she is also a comforting presence for Lloyd. And she also she's basically an angel. She's literally an angel. But I think she also has like kind of like a mischievous side to her as well. Like she's constantly like teasing Lloyd, and just kind of has like she's like it's more like she's like teasing him, but also like kind of unintentionally like putting him in these difficult positions by asking, "Oh, is that your fiance or whatever?" So I thought that was pretty funny. So yeah, I really enjoy those moments. I could definitely see myself putting her in S at the end of this, but we'll kind of leave that for later. Oh yeah, Colin. Yeah, he's gonna be the first C tier. Honestly, at the end of the tier list, I'll get to that later, but I could really see him being D because he's kind of a nothing character, unfortunately. But like, yeah, he's a cute kid and all that. Like, but he's not really super relevant in the story, apart from like that one chapter. I believe it's in Zero, where Ren saves him after he was like chasing a butterfly or whatever, like a typical like dumb kid activity, curious child activity, I guess we'll say. But yeah, C is good enough for him. Dieter Croix, man, I think in the script I put him at an S. I'll just kind of go through my explanation at first. So yeah, exactly. You might be thinking only an S. What are you talking about? But I'll actually explain. I like Dieter. He was a great supporting character in Zero, and his turn to becoming an antagonist in Azure genuinely really kind of blindsided me, if I'm being honest. It felt like a genuine portrayal, because I really didn't see him as an upstanding person, but the fact that he was merely a pawn being used by Mariabelle kind of dampens my view of him a little bit. His heart wasn't really in carrying the will of the Croix family until he was egged on by his daughter, which to me shows that his resolve wasn't as strong as I really thought it was. However, I still think he is a well-written character, and he does deserve, some form of attention. And while two different characters, his speeches also kind of reminded me of like Alan Richards' mindset when it came to like trying to gain access to the Oriole as a means to protecting Liberal. I see a familiar kind of mentality in Dieter, but personally, I think it was kind of better done with Alan Richard in Trails in the Sky, first chapter. But that's just obviously my opinion. Whew, whew. Dudley. I personally did not like Dudley at first. He was kind of overbearing, seemed like the kind of person that liked to taking credit for others' achievements. His obstinance towards the SSS was also pretty annoying. However, as the game went on, Dudley warmed up to the SSS, and by the end of Azure, he seemed to truly be he truly seemed them as a group of people that he can rely on. The growth of his relationship with the SSS and his kind of pseudo tsundere nature, in my opinion, places him in S tier. I think S tier is good for him. Like S tier, again, it looks like it's like low, but really S tier is like, it's genuinely, like, in my opinion, like pretty great characters. So yeah, Dudley definitely deserves to be there. All right, Ellie. So yeah, she's a great character. Being one of the founding members of SSS, we get a lot of time to become attached to Ellie. She's smart, well-connected, like, genuinely, it seems like half the characters we meet know Ellie in some way, or Ellie somehow has some knowledge of the character that we meet, and is very capable. She has very strong moral support for the team, and more specifically, acting like a shoulder for him to, like, kind of, like, rest on. She's also been subject to a lot of internal turmoil. Like, things that come to mind are, like, Mariable and Ernest. She's kind of had to come to grips with two key people in her life, turning out to be antagonists that have put people she cares about in harm's way, right? Ernest with Henry McDowell, and, Mariable with the entirety of Crossbell, but specifically, Kia. So it's like, but despite all of that, she's able to, like, kind of overcome those, turbulent scenarios and kind of move forward. And for me, she deserves to be an SSS for that reason. So yeah. Speaking of Ernest, we have the man himself. Let me just put him in the tier. Yeah, so I would say, when I first met Ernest, I thought he was, well, earnest. Like, he was pretty forward about his intention about bringing Ellie kind of back into, like, the political world and stuff like that. It was clear that he and Ellie had a strong relationship, which makes his portrayal tragic. He's a good character, but looking at this kind of list, I wouldn't say that he kind of deserves to be in the same tier as, like, Arianrod and Cecile. So I think B is pretty much right for him. Oh man, here we have Fran. So Fran, yeah, we'll also put her into A tier. She is literally the moral support of the game. She is constantly cheering us on and greets us every time it's time to report a request. She is genuinely, like, such a sweet character, and she doesn't have a lot of involvement in the story, except for, like, the latter half of Azure. But I personally like her relationship with Noelle. They make a great, like, kind of duo, and I like seeing Noelle kind of get embarrassed by how much Fran really loves her, and like how she shows, like, how much she openly has that affection for her. Yeah, this might be a bit of a high ranking, but I think looking at who's in B tier, I would say A is right for her, because I think it's a good sort of, like, middle ground for, like, B and S. So yeah, A seems right for her. Alright, now we have Garcia. So let me just put him in his tier first. Yeah, S tier for sure. I think it's pretty awesome. Being a former Jaeger, you can sense the intimidation from from literally a Sulk away. In a series of, like, monsters, cryptids, and higher beings, I genuinely think Garcia is, like, one of the more intimidating enemies that I have personally fought. And I kind of know I'm just basically describing his aura, but Garcia really does have kind of, like, an air about him not many characters in the series have. He, of course, also has some pretty great moments, such as in Azure, when Lloyd gets thrown into jail after Dieter declares himself the new president of Crossbell. Garcia kind of, like, tells Lloyd to stop putting Guy on a pedestal, and that's a key moment for Lloyd's character development, and so Garcia kind of pushes him along to kind of, like, improve in that way. And I also really like how Garcia was just kind of down to bust out of jail with Lloyd after everything they've gone through together. So yeah, I would say that Garcia definitely deserves at least an S tier. So okay, Grace. First, let me put her in the tier she is in. Sorry, hold on. Wait, hold on. Yeah, A. Okay, yeah, I'd say A is fair. So yeah, don't get me wrong, I do like her. I think she made big strides since the beginning of Zero, but I personally didn't have like a strong impression of her. I thought she was kind of annoying at the beginning of Zero, and unfortunately, that kind of thing for me personally is a little hard to shake off. But she is. I did find her like pretty charming and funny. Don't get me wrong. I think in a way she really was the success's #1 fan, and like I said, I did warm to her eventually. But I'll put her in A. She's a great supporting character, but I don't think she really deserves to crack into S tier territory. This might actually ruffle some feathers. Oh boy. So we're kind of finally getting into the second row of these characters. And let's see, how many minutes has it been? Oh boy, 15 minutes. Yeah, this is gonna be a long video. All right. Oh boy. Oh, anyways, I think I'm gonna get stoned for this, but I think as an actual character, Guy is going to have to be in B tier. And I already know you guys are taking out your pitchforks and all of that, or your orbital staff. But before you guys crucify me, I think Guy is kind of awesome as like an ideal. He is obviously like an ideal for Lloyd to kind of chase after, and he's very clearly a role model, and kind of comes off almost like a legend that many like the way people talk about him. But the thing is, there are actually too few moments where we can really kind of see the shine through, in my opinion. The ending of Azure is kind of beautiful because it kind of presents Lloyd with the moral conflict of choosing between being in reality where like a guy is obviously alive, and or just going back to like the reality where like Crossbell is like kind of screwed. But obviously, it gives Lloyd this chance to grow, and I think that is impressive. But that's more about Lloyd than it is about Guy. So again, I think B is gonna have to be good for Guy because as an actual character himself, I just don't think it's strong enough. And it's weird to kind of like look at him and see like him next to like Ernest and a boss. But just personally for me speaking, I think that's kind of appropriate for him. I'm willing to come back to this and kind of rearrange it. So yeah. Harold Hayworth. I think I'll kind of put him in B. He's cool. I thought at first he was kind of gonna be a bad person at first because we were kind of led to believe, or at least I was led to believe by Ren's kind of description of them that, the Hayworths were bad people, like, right? Because they abandoned her, right? But the truth was that it was actually pretty heartbreaking. The Hayworths didn't want to give up Ren, but they kind of ended up having to do so because of their financial situation, and they kind of wanted to come back someday to that orphanage and hope. I forgot if it was an orphanage or if it was something else, but yeah, they wanted to come back and actually get Ren after they were like financially stable, and it was because Harold actually was kind of messing around financially, and he had to get his finances back in order. And so yeah, that was kind of a tragic story. And so thinking about it now, I would say I initially debated between B and C tier for him, but I would say B is good. I could actually see a case for him being A, but the thing is, I don't know. I have to really revisit this list at the end of the at the end of the ranking because I'm starting to have some doubts about some of these placements. Even though I literally spent some time literally agonizing over these placements, but it's whatever. Yeah. Okay, we have the next character, Hartman. This is gonna be the first D tier. He's just such a pathetic character. He has like a pretty minor role in the story. He hosts the Schwartz auction, but apart from that, he's pretty much a fourth-rate antagonist, if you can even really call him that. And so, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put him in D tier. He might actually be if I remember correctly, he might actually be the only D tier in this entire list, at least initially. So Henry McDowell, I'm gonna put him in S tier. I think he's genuinely such a great character. He's relentless despite several challenges such as Ernest's betrayal, having to deal with the two factions within the Diet. He manages to kind of maintain his composure and lead Crossbell, and I kind of see him as a leader Crossbell actually needs, and I kind of do hope we see a little bit more of him in future games because he's actually pretty cool. Okay, so I have some gripes with Ian. So I don't even really know where to start from. I have mixed feelings about him. He's kind of like an advisor for SSS. He kind of seems to be a rock for a team. He kind of provides them with a lot of pointers that help them along with their investigations, and for that I found him to be like a pretty endearing character. And so, but when it's revealed that he was one of the key players in trying to take over Crossbell, it kind of presented me with conflicted feelings. But I kind of thought the reason why it's conflicting is because, like, yes, it sucked because, like, you know, we're kind of like endeared to him, but I kind of thought the reveal was kind of sudden, and I didn't think it was set up that well. So that's kind of the reason why I just, I don't know. Oh my god, I'm looking at the script. I didn't even give him a placement. I'll put Grimwood in S tier. I think if his reveal as like kind of like the pseudo mastermind behind the whole like sort of like Crossbow like takeover whatever was like done better, I could definitely see him being higher. But I think personally S tier is fine. I think it's good for him. Yeah, I've just realized that I don't think I even gave him an S tier, a tier in the original script. Wow. But yeah. All right, Ilya. This is going to be the second SS tier character. I think she's constantly providing the SSS with moral support. Looks out for the members of Ark and CL, and was able to overcome almost certain death in Azure. Like, I genuinely thought she died. Like, no joke, I genuinely thought she died. Like she literally survived like a falling chandelier, like on falling on her in Arkansas. I thought that was crazy. But yeah, she was somehow able to overcome a coma, and all that while she still encouraged the SSS and Risha. She is literally the embodiment of resilience, and if you add onto the fact that she's, in my opinion, one of the funnier characters, it seems only right for me to be her, like, for her to be like up this high, in my opinion. So yeah. Alright, we have Joachim Günther. So I think he's interesting. His reveal as the High Priest of the D, therefore G cult, did actually kind of catch me by surprise a little bit. He is one of the more like sort of evil, twisted characters in the series. I mean, he was literally behind, like, you know, the cult, like conducting those experiments on like the kids and stuff like that. So, and if you've seen that Star Door, I forgot if it was Star Door or what. I shouldn't laugh, but it's one of those doors in Trails in the Sky, the third. Yeah, you know that he deserves to go to hell. But yeah, he revels in the suffering of cult victims like Ren and Tio. And I don't want to dock him points for this, but I personally found Weissman to be more interesting. But he was a pretty hittable character. I'll put him in A tier for now because that's what I originally wrote. I'll kind of revisit that. So yeah, Jorg. Okay, we have Jorg. Yeah, I would say Jorg is pretty cool. I like how he doesn't really care about the society and is mostly just interested in the works he creates. I also think his relationship with Ren is kind of sweet. He kind of seems to have a deep understanding of the horrible things she went through and is sort of empathetic to that. And this might be a bit high again, but I'm going to give him an A. He in the limited screen time he got, I think he was like a pretty intriguing character, so that's why I put him that high. So, Yona, oh my gosh. I'm going to put him in B. I could see a case for him being A. He's a brat, but he does have some good moments throughout the course of Zero and Azure. This video is long enough as it is, but to summarize, I do think his presence is welcome. I do kind of like how his character kind of illustrates like the new age that Zamori is kind of entering with the oral revolution, and because like he's like a hacker, but like thing is like there's like kind of like no like kind of rules in place, you know, to kind of combat that, and so he's kind of like a trailblazer in that way. So yeah, he is an interesting character, but he's so annoying. Julia, I think in terms of the Crossbell games, she's a C tier, unfortunately. She just doesn't do enough to get that much attention, and she obviously is not going to have much impact. She's more of like a cameo character. So yeah, I think C tier is good for her. Oh my goodness, yeah. I mean, I'll just put her here for now. I'll kind of read my spiel. When I first saw Kia, I kind of knew obviously she was going to like be like super important and change the trajectory the story was going in, but I did not really imagine the extent that it would go to. She quite literally drove the plot from the very beginning without the player knowing it. Her role in the story itself is worthy of its own video, but there are people that are way more in tune with like the story and like are smarter than me that probably have made like a video about her. So yeah, I'll kind of just touch on her personality. She is literally a bubbly ray of sunshine that helps SSS get through its most tumultuous challenges. And one of the things that sticks out to me is her willingness to sacrifice her own happiness to help the SSS, which I find really admirable, but also it's obviously very sad. So yeah, Kia very obviously deserves to be in the SSS tier. Kevin Graham. I didn't write much for him, but I will say he doesn't have like a huge role in the Crossbell Duology. Really, he obviously is introduced in Azure in the Crossbell Duology. Or not, his involvement is in the Azure game, but yeah, he does kind of play an important role. Literally, especially like later on in the game, like where you're kind of going around you're going around Crossbell in like the Merkaba and all that, and he kind of like also uses his stigma. Yeah, he's obviously pretty important. I wish I'd written down more for him. Unfortunately, I think I kind of like I think I meant to like come back to this at some point, but I'm now kind of having to freestyle it a little bit. But yeah, Kevin, I would say deserves to be an A tier. Kilika, another A tier that I unfortunately did not write a lot about. I just think Kilika is really cool, and she's very formidable, despite her like lack of like actual combat involvement. It's really towards the end of the game that she kind of gets more involved in the combat at Orcus Tower. But yeah, she's still very cool. Chloe is a bit. She's a kind of like another cameo character like Julia. I don't think I can really put her higher than B, unfortunately. She's slightly more involved than Julia, I would say. But yeah, it's overall a pretty minor role. Whew, Lecter, that's for me gonna have to be an S tier. I really enjoyed him. Like really, ever since he was introduced in his introduction in Sky the Third, and the Crossbell Duology kind of just endeared me even more to him. He is very aloof, but he has a very composed demeanor, and he has this underlying like formidability to him, like kind of comparable to Kilika, and I think that kind of puts him in the S tier. Yeah, so Lloyd, I mean, I don't think I really even have to say much about this, but yeah, Lloyd, triple S, 3 of them. He is, in my opinion, an amazing protagonist across the duology. Lloyd is faced with so many barriers that he has to overcome, but in all seriousness, he does have this tenacity to kind of push through all the obstacles that are thrown at him with his persistence. I mean, he literally breaks out of prison in Azure and goes around Crossbell getting the gang back together, like that one episode of Phineas and Ferb. He gets along with pretty much everyone he meets, well, except for the character that's about to be next. But Lloyd knows how to sort of lay down the law when need arises. And I just think he's a great protag and adds to a list of fantastic protagonists that's this series has really produced. This guy and Estelle. So, yeah. So Maria Bell, let's go ahead and put her in the tier that I think she should be in. I think she's pretty interesting. I had an inkling of a feeling that she would turn into antagonist when she actually appeared at the Schwartz auction, because there's a moment at the end of that chapter where she kind of like, she kind of has like this moment where she kind of looks back, and it's like, also it's like, what are you even doing there, So it's like, yeah. But my intuition was basically confirmed when she talked to Kia, like after like the whole like Michelin Wonderland in like intermission chapter. Excuse me. But I genuinely did not know she would play such a huge role in the game. Ultimately, like kind of usurping her father, and kind of like fulfilling the will of the Kreutz family. That actually kind of really surprised me. And yeah, I would say she's a great character, and I would put her in SSS tier. The fact that she not only becomes a member of society, like not as an enforcer but as an Anguis, that to me was crazy. Like I was like, God damn, just what a glow up. What a career move, I guess. Like that was actually kind of insane to me. But yeah, okay. Michelle, I think that's how you pronounce his name. I will put him in A tier. I think he's pretty great. He doesn't mince his words when he talks at SS, but he still kind of manages to have like this air of like playfulness. He helps SSS in any way he can, and overall he is a boon to the team's success. So yeah, I think A is an appropriate placement for him. So next we have this character Mireille. She's also worthy of A tier, I would say. She's a pretty cool character. She kind of has like a bit of a interesting parallel to Noelle. When the CDF is established, Noelle rejoins despite knowing that what was happening is wrong because she felt bound to her duty. Meanwhile, Mireille leads a group of resistance fighters to fight against the Red Constellation. And this isn't a mark against Noelle, but rather a highlight of Mireille's attitude towards the function of the CGF. And I also really like the way she interacts with Randy. So yeah, that's why she's an A tier. Mueller, another bit of a cameo character. Unfortunately, I love Mueller. Don't get me wrong. I love the kind of like him. He's also like kind of like he's kind of like a boss. He's like kind of like the straight man to Olivier's kind of shtick. But again, he has kind of a minor role, so unfortunately, he's got to be here. Noelle. Oh man, I'm just looking at the. I don't know if I agree with this actually. When I wrote this, oh no, I'm gonna put her in SSS tier. Which don't get me wrong, that's not a bad ranking, but I'll first kind of go through what I kind of wrote down for her. So I really enjoy her kind of like profile and this SSS. I thought of her as an unofficial member of the gang in Zero. When she officially joined in Azure, I was really happy. As I mentioned earlier, she joins the CDF despite her better judgment because she has like this sense of duty. However, after Lloyd defeated her in a 1v1, she realizes that she kind of lost her conviction and is only really half-heartedly carrying out her duty because she is conflicted. And after this realization, she kind of rejoins SSS, and I think that was really awesome to see. So yeah, I put her in SSS, but I'll kind of revisit these rankings at the end of the video, like I said. Oh my god, I just realized. Okay. Alright, Professor Novartis. He is a pretty interesting character. To be frank, it's been a few months since I beat. Yeah, I even wrote that in the script. It's been a few months since I beat Trails to Azure, so I don't remember much about his actual participation in the like sort of like phantasmal Blaze plan. But he kind of came off as a single-minded eccentric that had a couple of funny like moments. Honestly, compared to Arian Ron and Campanella, I'd say he's a step below though. So I think B tier is fine for him. I'm looking at the characters in B tier. I think that's actually okay for him. Oh my god, I did not even write anything down for Olivier. Oh my gosh. And now I'm completely blanking. Like, on his involvement. Ooh, no. Because... No, A tier. Because there was that moment during the trade conference where he kind of... Yeah, no. Unfortunately, this is very scuffed, guys. I apologize, but yeah, I'll put Olivier in A because I'm remembering his like sort of involvement in the trade conference, and it's also Olivier. I know I wrote that. I know I had like very like big like profiles and all these characters, and like that's why I had like certain placements. But yeah, Olivier gets A tier because it's A tier, you know, because yeah. So next we have his adversary, Osborne. Osborne is he's a very important character. You know, he does not have a single second of like combat, but his political prowess and ability to command conversations and narratives kind of really immediately stood out to me. I'm actually, like I mentioned earlier, I'm currently on hiatus from Trails of Cold Steel. So I know he's good, but I just know he's going to be a real problem. I think he deserves to be at least an A tier as well. Whew, Randy, let me do some justice first for Randy. What a character. I mean, genuinely, where do I even start with him? Randy presents himself as a kind of a happy-go-lucky character from the offset. Just a complete goofball who doesn't really seem to take anything seriously. But underneath all of it, he carries the baggage of not only being a former Jaeger, but the scion of the Red Constellation. In Azure, he fights between his past and present, ultimately deciding that there was no future for him, basically. He sets off to fight the Red Constellation on his own, Constellation on his own, and abandons his teammates under this kind of like misguided notion that he doesn't deserve them and that he is better off alone. Kind of without getting into details, this aspect of Randy kind of really resonated a lot with me and struck a chord with me when I was playing the game. So the resolution to this internal conflict was really beautiful, and Randy honestly has to be one of my favorite characters from the Trail series as a whole. And yeah, I would say he easily deserves to be an SSS tier. I'm not doing this for like, but like yeah, top of SSS. I genuinely do think he's one of the best characters in the whole series, in my opinion. So yeah, I'll put him there. So two back-to-back great characters. Watching Ren finally kind of allow herself to be captured was genuinely one of the most satisfying moments in this entire duology. It was a resolution to a plotline that began in Sky SC, and I just couldn't be happier. One of my favorite moments was when she saved Colin, but refused to interact with her parents. It was kind of heartbreaking, but it showed how her attitude towards her family has kind of evolved since Sky SC. And so, obviously, there's more about her. She obviously, like, helps SSS in certain moments. Obviously, she kind of is involved in Azure by, like, fighting, you know... I'm not gonna lie to you guys, those other two, like, I guess, not mech, what were they called? Are they reveries? Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the terminology. But you know what I'm talking about, like, the two mechas, that weren't, like, the white one that Dieter, like, freaking, like, mind fused with. I thought that was pretty cool. I'm just realizing I don't have Josh and Estelle. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm already too deep into this, so if Josh and Estelle were here, they would probably be like A, maybe S tier, because they're Josh and Estelle. But yeah, damn. But yeah, Ryan, yeah, SSS. So yeah, Rias is really cool. That chapter where she accompanies the SSS to the Moon Temple and ends up defeating a demon all by herself was actually pretty funny. And as much as I really do enjoy her character, I think A is fine for her. I think, you know, obviously A tier is like getting a little bit crowded, but I would say that's because it's a testament to how good a lot of the characters are in this game. So Risha, just flat out an amazing character. Her kind of internal struggle of carrying on the legacy of her father by taking on the mantle of Yin, combined with her desire to be a part of Arc and Sail was amazing. It's really kind of interesting to observe. I think the contrast between her normally reserved, modest nature as Risha and her self-assured, defiant attitude, really almost kind of arrogant attitude while donning the mask of Yin, also kind of serves as a great contrast. Her character is kind of full of these kind of like conundrums, and I think that makes her, in my opinion, one of the more interesting characters in the duology. And I think for that, I'm going to actually put her in SSS. Alright, you have President Rocksmith. Respectfully, President Rocksmith is a bit of a letdown compared to Osborne. He's similar in that he obviously knows how to like kind of like play the field in like the political landscape. And he even colludes with Osborne in order to snuff out any chance of Crossbell achieving true freedom as a sovereign nation. He kind of comes off as like this like jovial like gentleman, like a very like I imagine him saying like like, you know, kind of that kind of vibe. But you know, yeah, I'd say he's B tier. I don't think he deserves to be in the same tier as Gilly, if I'm being honest, but that might just be me. But yeah, we have Sergey. That's just a boss right there, man. That's just a boss, man. Like, he constantly puts his neck on the line for the SSS, finding any loophole or technicality he can to exploit to make sure the SSS is able to like kind of like carry out their operations. And he's basically the founding member of the original SSS, and he kind of carries Guy's will with him and guides the SSS. So I think SSS, I mean, yeah, there's literally no better placement for him in my opinion. So yeah. Next we have Shirley. I think she's a great character. She has like this kind of cheerful demeanor that kind of adds her like sort of menacing aura. I think she did a lot to bring out the best in Risha, actually, funnily enough. By constantly being interested in fighting Yin, she kind of helped Risha make the distinction between herself and her calling as an assassin. I would say overall, while Shirley is certainly a good character, I don't think she should be like SSS or SS. I think S is fine for her. I think S is good. Shizuku, I would say, is a character I really like. She has a very admirable outlook. You know, she's able to persevere despite losing her mom at such a young age, and really in such a tragic fashion. I also like her chemistry with Kia. What really sticks out though is her defiance against her father towards the end of Azure. She knows that using Kia in order to protect Crossbell isn't right, and it doesn't sit well with her that the cost of her vision coming back is Kia's own happiness and well-being. And I would say, yeah, Shizuku definitely, I would say she's a step above, like, these characters. So yeah, I would say she's S tier. Sigmund. I still can't believe I forgot Sigmund's name, or, like, who Sigmund was. But yeah, Sigmund is also an interesting character. He has, like, an unhealthy obsession with kind of bringing Randy back into the Red Constellation so he can take over for his, you know, his dad. But the thing is, that kind of, like, really encapsulates his, sort of, his whole character. Like, I feel like he's a bit one note, if I'm being honest. Like he's I would say he's like, I don't know if calculative is the right word, but he's like, he's composed, but like he also knows how to like really let loose like during battles and stuff like that. But I personally found Shirley to be a little more intriguing, so I'll put Sigmund in A. Now we have Sonya. I really enjoy Sonya's character. She's confident, intelligent, and acts as an ally for the SSS. In particular, I think she does a great job of guiding Noelle instead of setting her on the right path after the formation of the CDF. And so, yeah, I'll put her in S tier. Sophia, another C tier, along with Colin, her son Colin. She's not a bad character, but I don't think she should be in the same tier as Harold, just because Harold is a bit more involved in the story, and Sophia is more of just kind of like, she's kind of just there, if I'm being honest. So yeah. Sully is a cool character. She's unfortunately at the center of a few incidents, but she's just a solid character. I like her bashful nature and her willingness to like kind of just like you know, her determination to join the Arkansas. So yeah, I'll put her like in B. I don't think she should be in C, but I don't think she should be in A either. Whew. Yeah, another great character here. Tio. Well, if you're paying attention to, you know, the SSS tier, I think you'll know what's kind of coming. Tio is genuinely an incredible character. It really broke my heart when I learned that she was one of the survivors of the experiments that the D, therefore G cult conducted. Seeing her evolve from this like terse character that rejected a lot of like human affection to being able to really show her emotions was genuinely very beautiful. Like I remember the first time like she smiled, like I was streaming, and I kind of like missed it, and I was like, wait, did she smile? And I went back and I was like, oh yeah, she smiled. That actually really made me happy. So yeah, for me, she easily deserves to be an SSS tier. Wald, so he has a bit of an inferiority complex with Wazi, which is kind of what drives him to take like the Gnosis drug, and I'm glad that it seems that he's gonna have like a place with Abbas and Wazi. I don't know what his role is gonna be in like, you know, the Septian Church or whatever, but I'm just really interested in seeing him kind of like going forward. I also did not give I said I finished this script. I glossed over so much, but I would put him, honestly, I think S. Yeah, I think Walt's a pretty good character. I would say, looking at all these other characters, I would say he's a step above like most of the people in A. So yeah, I would say S is good for him. Whew. Now we have Ozzy. I love Wazi. Like, he is such a fun character. He wears many hats throughout the series. You know, host, you know, owner of Trinity, member of the SSS, and also he is a fucking Dominion. He's a member of the Gralsritter. Like Kevin Graham. Like I saw him. I foresaw him like being like a member of the church. I'm not, you know, you guys might say that's cap. I actually did see that coming. What really kind of set it off was like in Astro when he was talking about like the pleroma grass, and I was like, okay, that's interesting, because he mentioned it was like something that like you like see like in church texts and stuff like that. I was like, oh, okay, all right. But I did not expect him to be a Dominion of all things. That was such that reveal alone was awesome. But obviously that's not all that makes him a great character. Wazi is like kind of like conflicted about kind of keeping his true like nature a secret from SSS, and I really like him. This might be a bit high for him, but or at this point we're kind of like at this point it's like everyone from SSS is in this tier, so yeah, I'm gonna put him also in the SSS tier. I think he kind of deserves that. Alright, and finally, we're actually almost finally done. How long is this recording? Oh my god, 45 minutes. Jesus Christ. Alright. Zeit. From the get-go, it was pretty obvious that Zeit was like not like an ordinary wolf, but like Wazi, I did not expect him to be a holy beast. Like genuinely, he is like Ragnar, right? Like from Trails in the Sky SC. That was genuinely crazy to me. So I was like, damn. But yeah, in all seriousness, I think Zeit is a pretty great character as far as like an animal character can go. Like, he doesn't have a lot of competition in that regard. Like, again, it's like Ragnar and like Sieg. So it's like, yeah. But anyways, I do like how he kind of always helps SSS like when they're in a pinch. And his holy beast form is actually so cool. Like, genuinely speaking, it is like such a cool like sort of like design. So yeah, I'll put it like an A tier. Feels weird to put him above like human characters, but that's just how the cookie crumbles, I guess. Alright, so this is like the super unscripted part of the video. I'm gonna kind of comb through the tiers and see if anybody deserves to be somewhere else. I would say D tier is fine for like what it is. This is really for like a shitty character. Like Hartman is just like pathetic. Like he doesn't really like do anything apart from being like a coward. So yeah, I'll put him in D. C tier I think is also fine. For now, like basically people who are in C tier deserves to be there in my opinion. B, this is where it's like if I want to like bump anyone up. Like bump anyone up or down. Guy, I don't want to gaslight myself into saying that guy should be A, but I kind of have an inkling, because like, yeah, he's not like on the same, yeah, guy's cool, but I don't want to like put him there. I don't want to put him in A just for his aura, but he does have like this, he is a bit of a legend. Fuck it, I'll put him in A. A is crowded enough as it is, why not add someone else, Fuck it. Let's see. I don't think there's anyone in C tier, or sorry, A tier that I would like move down. It would really be like a matter of like moving them up, maybe. I mean, if we're talking about aura, then I would put, Gavin Graham and like SSS. But as far as his actual involvement in the game, like I can't do that for every character. So yeah, I think A tier is fine for him. I'm just kind of going through again. I think this tier is fine as well. Sao S tier is fine. Dieter. I'll actually do this. I do think Dieter, because of how because I genuinely bought into him like being like this like cool character that would like. I actually did see him as like being like his like twist reveal as like being like an antagonist actually did kind of catch me off guard, and that actually kind of like I actually did genuinely feel betrayed. So yeah, I'll put him like right next to Maria Bell, right next to his daughter that betrayed him. Lecter, I think as much as I like Lecter, I think S tier is fine for him. Yeah, maybe Dudley could go higher. Maybe. I'll actually put Dudley in SSS tier. I'll actually put Noelle in SSS as well. I'll put like everyone in that's like, actually like in some way involved. Well, I mean, everyone in the game is technically involved, but you know what I mean. Like everyone that's like kind of like formally involved. Dudley, I think SSS is fine. I mean, sorry, SS. Jesus Christ, SS is fine for Dudley. I'm trying to see if anyone else deserves anything else. Arios, I could see a case for him being SSS as well. But I think for the most part this is fine. And the video is long enough as it is. But yeah, oh my god, 50 minutes. Alright, well, that's gonna do it for today. Hopefully y'all enjoyed my ranking. Hopefully y'all understood kind of like where I was coming from with a lot of these rankings. In the end, I did make a few adjustments from like my original rankings. One character didn't even get a ranking at all. A few actually did from the original script. But hopefully you all will kind of see where I'm coming from. And obviously, let me know what you think of certain characters in the comments. I actually genuinely do look forward to seeing what you guys think, because this is obviously just my opinion, and I want to see what you guys think too, because there are a lot of great characters, so I could definitely see certain characters like being higher. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I was gonna say tuning in. Oh my god, I need to get back to streaming. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a comment, if you feel inclined to do so, and I hope you guys will stick around for the next video, which at this rate will be a Trails of Cold Steel quadrology tier list that'll come out in like 2027. But yeah, thank you guys again so much for tuning in, and I'll see you all next time.